Hi, Danny. Hey, Shoshana. Hi, it's Valentine. All right, let's do this. Well, you made it. Hi, Christy. Hey, Danny. Jane,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm literally in my mom's car because my parents' Wi-Fi is so abysmal that I had to drive away and mooch off of the coffee shop in the area.
Excellent.
It's been a journey. My laptop is actually inside the coffee shop trying to upload an audition video that I had to send that was telling me it would be 10 hours to send from home. So it's so thrilling to be home. It's a great time.
You get the comforts of home and family without the comforts of Wi-Fi.
Correct. Correct.
All right. So
How are you
welcome.
doing?
I'm doing all right,
Good.
relatively all right. Yes, thank you. My days are not that different because I'm working the same hours. I'm just working from my home office instead, and you know,
Yeah.
it's not so bad for a homebody. And my dog is my office assistant now, so
Oh,
that's nice.
excellent.
So let me introduce us. I'm Dr. Elisa Hurwitz. I'm a clinical psychologist. I also write and lecture and interview about the intersection of psychology and theater. And I've been running this mental health series since we've all been in this stay-at-home mode and kind of really talking more about mental wellness. And my guest today is the wonderful Jane Bruce, who is currently in intermission from Jagged Little Pill, and also was in the other Josh Cohen, and is a fantastic singer-songwriter in her own right. So check out her EP, It's You, if you haven't before. It's a fantastic piece.
Thank
I love
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank
Um,
you.
so besides the Wi-Fi, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I kind of made the decision to come home to Utah pretty quickly after um, we got the news that we were going to be, shutting down for a while. And I live in a fairly small apartment in Brooklyn with two roommates who were both returning from international travel and one who was not feeling very well. And so I just sort of scooted home before our paths crossed. And it's definitely a hard decision, hard to leave like the place that I've come to know as home and to leave. Um, I left my boyfriend in New York and he's still there, and so it's interesting. But it's definitely nice to be with family. I wasn't really anticipating having this much time to spend with them this year with the Broadway schedule. So um, that's been great. And my sister and I are really close, and Utah is really lovely. Lots of beautiful mountains to hike, and so other than the treacherous Wi-Fi, it's been okay.
It's yeah, that's nice, right? Because in Brooklyn, you wouldn't necessarily have the same access to being outdoors, which,
No,
right, with our limitations in places, in where we can go and how we can be around other people,
yeah.
having outdoor space as an option is so great.
Yeah, and it's been great for my mental health to be able to go on hikes. We live,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can really see. Again, I'm in the car because
Oh,
we're
that's
but so
gorgeous.
that's yeah, and it's beautiful. So I kind of my sister and I go on little jaunts most days, and it's tricky. Like I think it's a little hard that uh it's very different culture obviously than New York, and it's a little things here kind of are all opened up again. And my sister and I always wear our masks on the trails because you can't really maintain 6 feet when you pass people on those little narrow paths, and we get lots of crazy looks and
For
you know
wearing masks.
for wearing masks. Yeah, so we spend a lot of our hikes like brainstorming like witty comebacks about why you should wear a mask everywhere.
Yes, so even culturally, that kind of the belief that it's important to take this seriously, right? In New York, it's a hot spot, and
Yeah,
so it's unavoidable to know that it's serious and that you have to
yeah.
take it seriously, right? And then here or there, I guess that even that is different culturally.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and it's definitely been stressful for us as a family. And you know, my dad is a family practitioner, and his office has kind of a tent set up outside, and so, you know, anyone that is getting tested for COVID goes to the tent, and you know, but my dad has to suit up and all the gear, and you know, he tries to be really careful when he comes home, but you know, it's stressful to know that we're already at a higher rate of being exposed because of him still being at work. And so yeah, it's frustrating to like go to the grocery store and see it full and no one trying to be careful or wearing masks or social distancing. It's yeah, it definitely makes me miss New York, where everyone, I think, I hope anyway, I haven't been there in so long now, but it seems like from what I've heard, people are still being pretty smart for the most part.
Yeah, it sounds
Grateful.
like the majority of people are taking it seriously, and then there's these pockets of people who aren't. Like there was that picture from, I think it was from
Yeah,
like, and it looked like people were not social distancing, and like almost no one was wearing a mask.
yeah,
Disheartening. But all we can control is what we do to take
exactly.
precautions, and we got to let the rest go, even though it is angering.
Yeah,
You know, but something I've talked about a bunch on this series is, you know, that the idea of anger, and when you hold on to it, it turns into resentment, and resentment only harms the person holding on to it. It doesn't harm the person who you know, who you might be directing it or kind of channeling it towards.
right.
So letting go of, finding ways to let go of resentments and releasing what you can't control is really healthy
Yeah.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially when, you know, so much of what we normally were able to control in our daily lives is completely uprooted and gone. It's, you know, it's human nature to want to, I think, grab onto something that you feel like you can control, and which has certainly been an interesting thing to navigate in being home and just being in a totally different place and being with family again. You know, we haven't lived together as a family in like over 10 years, you know, because I went away to college and everything. So it's like we're all relearning how to, you know, navigate being
Yeah.
roommates and family members.
It's a phase. It's like a developmental phase of your family that you didn't think, you know, you would have.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. So I would like to encourage people to make comments and questions. Please ask questions in the stream. I see Brian here is commenting the New Jersey governor reclosed parks because people were not being responsible. Yeah, and that is good leadership. Um, can you talk about what it was like to get the notice that Broadway was shutting down, and kind of how you wrapped your head around that, and took
Yeah.
steps forward?
It was, I think a lot of us really felt like it was quite likely for even like a couple weeks leading up to the decision. I think all of us kind of were sensing that there was this big storm coming, and I think I felt so much anxiety in that time leading up to the decision being made because I was so anxious to just like know what was going to happen, you know. And so when we did get the notice that we were going to be paused for a while, I think I felt actually quite numb about it for a while, you know. And also, you know, Jagged was my Broadway debut, and the whole experience was so much more physically demanding than I had prepared myself for. So at the same time, there was this like weird sense of like physical relief in a way that also was really confusing, to like be slightly grateful for a chance to like rest. And I, you know, I've been battling a bit of a hip injury for a while that was really causing me a lot of pain and a lot of grief. um and so it was very bizarre, and I don't think it was till I had been back in Utah for like a week and a half or 2 weeks that it really hit me, and then I was like a real a real hot mess for a stretch. And yeah, it feels like I go in cycles of like being like accepting that this is just what it is now and that it has to be this way for everyone's safety and well-being, and trying to make the most out of my present circumstances. And then I go through ways of just like intense despair that I'm so far away from everything, and that also, you know, this dream of being on Broadway was, you know, it was a 20 plus year dream that I finally achieved, you know. And I was the last understudy to like get to go on, and and it's just like a little wild that I tasted my
So,
ultimate dreams, and now it's the Corona times. So it's
uh,
wild. It's
so
a
many dreams deferred, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I know a lot of people are dealing with similar things in such huge ways. And, I'm grateful that I haven't had anyone, I haven't lost anyone, and, my family's all safe and able to keep, working. And so, all in all, I'm incredibly grateful, but emotionally, it's definitely a roller coaster.
Yeah, I think that's what Ezra Minas was on
Hmm.
Monday, and I think that's what they were describing too. Is that it was shock. Ezra's also in the cast of Jagged Little Pill. That it was shock at first. It like almost being, too okay in a way because it just was shock, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
even though you
Exactly.
knew kind of knew it was coming, and then like, the aftershock comes and hits you, and the emotions come.
Yeah. 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 I'm grateful that my therapist has been able to do teletherapy, and, that's been a
Mhm.
real and that's been really helpful. And I had just started seeing a therapist not long ago, so uh, it's been interesting because we've mostly kind of been doing the getting to know you process, on video chats, which is it's interesting, and also just it's so different because my day to day is now revolving so much around just being home and being with my family, and navigating all of that and navigating missing people. And whereas before it would have been the stress of the city and the stress of the career and the stress of the show. And so it's interesting how everything refocuses.
Oh yeah. I end up, I've mentioned this before in here. I end up sometimes when I'm running now, staring at this one spot on the treadmill, and it's the pause button, and it feels
Yeah.
so meaningful.
Yeah.
It's like this reminder that so much is paused, and that's okay. Because it has to be. It has to be okay that
Yeah.
it's paused. I don't personally believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't think children die for a reason, like I just don't think the world's ordered that way, but I do think we can make reason out of everything that happens. And,
Yeah.
if not that this time has to be great and it has to be awesome every day, but if you can, you know, kind of take that moment, like to heal your body, right, from
Yeah.
with the hip injury, and to be out in nature and to be with your sister and to kind of be in this time where you're with your family again, unexpected, and enjoy that time that's meaningful. And there can be good days and bad days, and they're both valid.
Yeah. No, it's been really nice. I mean, I my dad was also diagnosed with prostate cancer a few months ago, and it's not a
Mm.
severe case, and he's a doctor, and he's not, terribly worried, but we never know if he's just downplaying it to come, he's a bit of a jokester. But um yeah, I'm unbelievably grateful for having this unexpected time, because when I got that news and I was in the show, it was like, whew, it's just, you never think that you think that your parents are invincible and that you're invincible and all these things. And so anytime I get even the slightest bit annoyed with being home, I just remember how grateful I am to have this like unexpected moment to be with them again.
Yeah, yeah. Their gratitude is a healthy practice. And you mentioned, also, having just started therapy, and that you can do teletherapy, and that is one uh, something great that, one of the great
Here's the
changes
other
that
side of
happened was that.
it. I just rearranging in my vehicle.
Oh, very good.
Much better.
um, that usually, we can't see people for teletherapy across state lines because of insurance, unless you're licensed in that
Mm,
state that they're in. But the rules around that have been, temporarily changed because of the national emergency. So there's a lot more flexibility. So people who they lived in one state and went home to another state can continue with their therapist, via video chat, which is so, so, so important.
yeah.
Um, it was the changes that were made around that very quickly were really good. I'd like to get to some of these comments and questions. Yeah, so, let's see. Paper Jenna saying it definitely feels surreal. I guess she works in a theater as well. Doc, I've been hearing myself say we're all doing the best we can at this time. Mostly also to remind myself too. Yeah, that bears repeating. The Tuckergram, keep dreaming big, Jane. Love you.
Hi, Tucker.
That's someone who knows you. Um, KG said, Jane has been such a light in this time, just someone to talk to who gets it with such compassion. um, okay, Brian, BJ Bates said, I don't understand this question, so hopefully you will. How do you think the Denises of the world are handling this?
I think that's in reference to the coffee shop character I play in Jagged.
Oh, is she named Denise?
Yeah.
Did you?
um, it's interesting. I definitely think there are a lot of, oh, I don't know. I mean, I think everyone's dealing with it in their own ways, and of course, in the show we find comedy, in playing those women that, perhaps a lot of us are familiar with, but I'm sure. I don't know. I'm sure everyone's coping in their own way. I wish I had a more witty answer, but I, I'll,
They're probably making it all about them and not having any empathy or gratitude, I imagine.
yes, possibly.
Yeah,
Who can say?
true, true. But knowing that type, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
um, I think those are the same women that were like the pick a little women in the Music Man.
yes, yeah.
Those
I'm
are them.
sure they're struggling with social distancing. That's for sure.
Yes, yes. So what music wise, what and creativity wise, how has that been for you? Has it been have you, there was this at the beginning, it seemed like there was this idea of this productivity porn where like, oh, you have all this time, you can be so creative,
Yeah, yeah,
not giving space for the fact that we're trying to survive a pandemic. And so, being a creative person doesn't during a pandemic doesn't necessarily mean you're creating tons, but maybe, playing music or singing is just therapeutic for you. Where's the music been?
um, I've definitely, for a while, I've really been struggling with some writer's block for the past like 6 months or so, and it's been really difficult. And I think part of it was just the stress of the schedule of the show and how physically demanding it was. I just felt a little like, dried up that way. And so in coming home, I was really hopeful. Doing like concerts. I've been trying to like learn a lot of new covers, and we've been doing a lot of different videos for things. I made a video with my friend Tucker, who commented earlier, where we kind of did a little bit of a spoof on like Broadway closing, and he's doing all these fun videos with people from all over the country that he knows. About being a freelance artist. We were supposed to have a show at 54 Below that got canceled, and so, that was a big kind of chunk of money that we lost by not being able to do that. And but that was really fun because it was kind of this whole other side of creativity that I hadn't really explored, of like making a music video and like planning the shots. And like my sister's been really great at helping me with all those different projects, and that's been really awesome to just like kind of play around with her. And this video that's coming out for the Mother's Day Broadway, uh, the Broadway Cares concert, the Easter, like what would have been the Easter Bonnet concert, I guess, I think.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, that video that we kind of made and put together was similar in terms of just coming up with fun ways to shoot things. And so that's been really good. And I trust that when, I think sometimes too, it's also for me, writing feels like I need to be like in a really private space, which is a little tricky when you're living with your whole family and they have three big dogs. And um, but yeah, I think I'm sure once I get the muscle working again, it will come back easily. um,
Yeah.
and I'm lucky that Elia, my boyfriend, is in New York, and he's still writing his face off and working so hard and doing such amazing things. And he's going to come out and visit in June. We're going to go up to my parents' little cabin in Idaho and sort of sequester up there for a while. And I'm hoping that he can also maybe help me get the writing muscle working again. We've been
Good.
talking for a while about doing like a country duo, and I've been listening to so much. It just feels appropriate to listen to country music since I've been home.
His
You know,
ears must have been ringing because he just joined.
oh, hi, hon. Um, yeah,
We
so I'm
will.
really excited for him to come out and, we can finally try to make those country duo dreams come true, I think.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Are there particular country artists who you listen to, you're inspired by?
I really, my sister, since I've been with my sister, we've really been going on a lot of like deep dives back to the stuff that we listened to when we were young. So like we went on this excruciating hike the other day that was really like way too hard and we'll probably never do it again. But we got through it by just listening to like the Dixie Chicks and Shania Twain and um I love the Highwomen. I love Brandy Carlisle. I
Yes.
love Haley Whitter's new album is really great. Um, and then Elia really turned me on to Miranda Lambert.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I'm like really, the other day I was, playing my guitar and just kind of looking up chords to songs. And I'm the kind of person that it takes me, I sometimes have to like read the lyrics as I listen to really process the story.
mm.
Otherwise, I sort of just like absorb the melody and like the emotions that come from the musical aspect. And, oh, but some of Miranda's songs, reading the lyrics and trying to play along with them, just like I was weep. Same with Brandy Carlisle, like seeing the craft of a lot of those songs. It's
It's like
just
it's too much.
yeah. I'm like, oh my god, that's so smart. That's so good.
What was it? It happened to me the other day where I just had my phone on shuffle. Oh, I know. Sarah Bareilles' song "Gravity" came on,
Hmm.
and then the next song that shuffled up underneath it was Casey Musgrave's "Rainbow," and I was
Yeah,
listening between sessions, and that was a mistake
yeah, yeah.
because the tears were coming.
Oh yeah. There's nothing better, I think, than like the catharsis that comes from like a song that hits you. You know.
Oh
I've also
yeah.
absolutely been loving Laura Marling's new album is unbelievably gorgeous. And when I read the little blurb about what her album was about before she released it, I kind of felt worried because what she said about what the album was is kind of exactly what I'm trying to do with this like folk show that I'm working on and in terms of what the themes are and everything. And I was like, oh no, like is it gonna be whatever? And but she's just so extraordinary and poetic and instead I was just deeply moved and more inspired to just keep writing down little ideas and things
Oh, that's
and
great.
also the new Fiona Apple album is just
Oh,
so good. Oh my
uh,
god.
yeah.
Oh my god.
She's so good that it like listening to her stuff. I feel like it doesn't even fully hit me when I listen to her music because I'm like, it's like too much. It's like too much. It's like, too great.
Oh, well, the song that when I was listening for the first time through and the lyric, um, in I think it's something heavy balloon maybe. I spread like strawberries. I climb like peas and beans. I've been sucking it in so long that I'm busting at the seams. I was like, I think I like truly stopped in my tracks and was like a jaw dropping moment. I just think that's so incredible and so captures like what it is to be in that headspace about your body and about food and
Mm,
having that feeling of like no,
hmm I
so
think there's something, to be said for women songwriters writing songs for women for the entire experience of being a female identifying person. And that's part of why I think Jagged Little Pill is so brilliant because the album and the show, because she you're a little younger than I am, but like that was the big album when I was a teenager, one of the big albums, right? And so, this idea that you could be a woman and have the entire emotional experience. I
mhm.
know that album's known for like the anger, but that's not the whole album,
No,
right?
not at
It's
all.
entire emotional experience and that we're not just stuck with like heteronormative romantic love. It's the entire personhood. And I think that's what great songwriters do. But when when female songwriters write for female voices,
Yeah,
especially, I think there's a kind of
yeah,
synergy.
yeah. I
Amanda, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no, yeah. I that album and the whole experience. I mean, in Cambridge, doing the show, I wrote like a whole album worth of music because I just was so inspired by
Oh,
being in her lyrics and her sound in that time. It really I think opened up a whole new way of like trusting myself and what I could write in terms of that level of honesty. And
It's
yeah.
almost like she was so, I don't know if it's just her, or her youth when she wrote that album to like to be so fearless
Hmm.
in, in just trusting her voice. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I wonder also if it's kind of like, when you teach a kid to ski when they're 4, they're fearless because they just don't know enough yet to be
Yeah.
afraid to themselves.
Oh,
That,
absolutely.
that helps too. Yeah.
I've been thinking
Um,
that a lot too with being home and like seeing
yeah.
all of the stuff from being reminded of like, the person I was last time I really lived at home, which was high school, and I was so gutsy and confident and fearless and like so trusting that like, I deserved the moon and that I was going to work for it. And it's good to remind myself of that. It's good.
Yeah. You could kind of borrow that fearlessness of your younger self.
Yeah.
Okay, Amanda said, speaking of Jagged Little Pill, do you sometimes find it hard to disconnect from the show once it's over? So that's a great question. How do you have boundaries around the emotion of the performance, and then, leaving and going home and being Jane?
Um, it's interesting. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, like everything that the show, in the same way that the show, I think, has had an impact on so many people who are in the audience, like all of those things have impacted so many of us in the cast too. And a lot of the kind of themes and the questions of the show and the way that the show, I think, really educates in a pretty incredible way. Like all of that is still with me so much. And I'm constantly reminded of it when I interact with people, here and who have very different, maybe don't always have that same education or exposure. And um, yeah, and I think there's a lot about the whole experience, both like the content of the show and also everything about being in that space, in that really intense, passionate way with everyone, and that I'm definitely still
Mm.
all constantly kind of thinking about and processing. And and I miss people so much. I talk to the cast, as much as I can, and we have a group chat. And um, I've talked to John a few times, and Lauren, and um, Laurel, my booby. So yeah, I
Yeah.
miss everyone so much. It's really it's very it's wild. It just feels like going like 100 miles an hour to zero, and it's yeah.
Yeah, that's what Ezra was saying too. It's just like a screeching halt, which is so crazy, right? Because it's an Olympic athlete level, of functioning to
Yeah.
be on Broadway doing 8 shows a week, and then all of a sudden not. It's such a lifestyle change.
Yeah, well, and also, since September, we spent so much time together, and I feel so grateful that it feels like we're a family, but not in the like cheesy gushy sense, but in the like authentic way where, your family members challenge you and they love you no matter what.
Yeah,
But they'll call you out and they'll support you and they'll be there through the hard moments, and you're your messiest self around them. And, you learn from each other and you listen and you laugh. And yeah, it's very weird to have like that whole community of people all of a sudden all scattered. I think we're all sort of, it's bizarre a bit.
yeah.
It's so amazing when we're all able to go back to the theater. And I think, you know,
Oh
that
my
will be
God.
one like grateful, mushy gushy group hug cry
Oh my
fest.
gosh. I can imagine. Yeah, the feelings, and for you guys as as a family, and then the performance and the gratitude, for just everybody for being in community again.
Yeah.
That is going to be so 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 incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like even more electric, I think, than I was there the first preview, and
Mhm.
the energy in the theater was bananas. It was awesome.
Yeah. Like one of the coolest moments of my whole life for sure.
Oh yeah, that was so awesome. There's just so much energy and excitement. Um, oh, KG is saying opening night 2.0. Yeah, it'll
Exactly.
be like, I think that first night back is going to be like opening night, first preview night, first performance after the Tonys night, like all of that,
Hmm.
all rolled in one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be good for the soul.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm. Um, so the music is the music in the show is really powerful, and I love what oh gosh, I'm totally having a brain freeze here. Tom Kitt did with the orchestrations to just elevate and expand for sure. You know that music. What song? I don't know. What song do you connect with? I'm sure it changes all the time, but
Yeah, I mean, I think right now I'm really feeling a lot of thank you. I
yeah.
think my favorite moment when we did the show Out of Town was this moment where we in that after we do kind of the like verse lyrics, the ensemble sang the bridge. The moment I let go of let's see, the moment I let go of it was the moment I got more than I could handle. The moment I jumped off of it was the moment I touched down. And every night, actually, we don't do that in the Broadway show anymore, but after we come off stage from One Step, One Prayer, I Soldier On, which also has been really resonating with me lately, um, I tend to just like go into the wings and just sort of like lay down and um, decompress and try to like take in the journey of the show and really like feel that feeling of gratitude. And yeah, so that's been certainly
Mm.
all those lyrics of that song. Just like every time I start to feel some sort of way, or just thinking about how grateful I am for the people safe. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, people like your dad,
yeah,
right? Is
yeah,
um, yeah, everybody who's on the front lines. Yeah, the gratitude.
yeah,
And again, that doesn't negate that things are hard, or that there's sadness, or that there's anxiety, restlessness, whatever it is you're feeling, they can coexist.
yeah,
All of the hard feelings and the gratitude. It can be, I have gratitude that we have a yard to go into, that we can just step outside and be in safely. Um, and it also sucks that my sister's a nurse and is, on the front lines. That scares me.
yeah,
All at the same time.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and in terms of, so you understudy Bella, you understudy Mary Jane, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And you're every night in the ensemble. And I love watching ensemble members because I just love watching the individual journeys. And I read that as the way that it was directed by Diane Paulus. I read kind of what you guys are going through as not only a Greek chorus, but connecting with your own emotional journey. There are particular moments where you're having a whole emotional, your character's having a whole emotional experience as well.
Hmm.
Um, without giving away trade secrets, can you talk about like how Diane Paulus directed you in those moments?
I think one of my favorite memories was in for the out of town tryout. We all had to do like a character presentation, and she gave us sort of a list of ingredients. And for all of us in the ensemble, it was really up to us about what that meant. And so certain people, their character was love, or their character was some other emotion. And some people created characters with names and things, and all of the presentations were just so unbelievably creative and unique and personal. And I think that that was such a it just was, it was truly one of the most extraordinary like theatrical experiences I've ever had. And I'm a huge nerd. Like I loved theater school, like I loved class, I loved exercises, even now with the show, like I love getting notes every time I see someone from the creative team is in the house. I'm like, hey, oops, any new notes or anything. So and I feel like that experience really allowed us to continue in that way moving forward, because uh, I think for the ensemble, uh, Larby and Diane were so open to us kind of like making really strong choices about how we would connect with another character in a moment, or how we would connect with each other, or like the sort of gestures we would use, the kind of intent we would have in certain lyrics. And so it really felt like something that we crafted in such a collaborative way. It really was never some sort of, it was never the kind of experience where you're just kind of given where you go and told exactly what to do. And, you know, I'm so grateful for that. It was so deeply, deeply creative and deeply um, collaborative. It was really extraordinary. And I think, um, you know, with that, certain people kind of mirror characters in a more clear way, you know, like Ebony with Celia and Heather with MJ. Um, and then for some of us that didn't have those direct correlations, it was sort of um, up to us if we wanted to feel a connection with someone in that way. And I think because I understudy Bella, I felt like connected to that story, and then connected to then Nick in a different way. Like I always feel like Wake Up is really powerful um, because of kind of the backstory that I've created for myself. And um, I found this gesture that's like, if I do it like a zillion times in the show, where I like put both hands out, and which feels like, which when I found that also felt so powerful, like just that idea of like either look at, you know, look at my history, look at what's on my hands, or like look at what you've done, or look at, you know, look at my future, you know what I mean? Like it, and so that really has grounded me a lot in terms of what I'm doing in the ensemble and like what my arc is, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite piece of movement in the show? Because I love Larby's choreography because it's all so intentional and
Yeah,
such great storytelling. Yeah.
yeah. I oh goodness, I mean, so much of it is still so hard for me. Like again, I'm trying so hard to take this time at home to like, you know, help my sister like teach me how to weightlift and stuff, so that I feel like I have the stamina to go back and not just feel dead every time I do. But yeah, I just think trust that you look as cool as the other dancers around you. But again, it's so cool that his choreography is really meant to highlight our individuality and not make us look like a drill team, which is excellent and I think so powerful.
I think that some comes clear. So very, very that comes across that individuality. I think in the direction and in the choreography,
Yeah.
and I love that. Um, I love the moment in oh gosh, what's the song that Lauren sings? I'm just one hand in my pocket. I love the choreography with one hand in my pocket because it's so joyful. I
Yeah.
mean, there are absolutely brilliant moments of choreography, and for folks who have seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. Um, you know, but that one more recently, I've just kind of re-fallen in love with for the joy that it is.
Yeah.
uh, maybe because we need, I don't know, because we need joy in our lives,
Yeah.
and that's the one that sticks out.
Yeah.
Um, it's just joyful.
Yeah. That number's always like sort of feels like a blur because I do like that little cross as Lily Fisher. And then I like race backstage and I underdress all my yoga mom clothes and I frantically put on my like conscience clothes. I don't even usually have time. My shoes are untied, you know, my pants are unzipped. I don't even have my full costume on. And then I run off stage and I like joyfully, you know, do the step choreography and then run right off stage again and become coffee shop mom. So I love it. And it is definitely joyful and I get to be right by Laurel in that moment. We usually have a good time. But I wish I was in more of the number, you know, because it's like this little flash of like, it feels like this moment where I get to expel like, you know, whatever kind of joyful, goofy energy I have before I go back to being a bitchy white lady again.
That's interesting. So your experience of it is different because it's just like it's a little crazy.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
zippy one.
Yeah.
I've never missed. I never. There was one time where I really had to like slide right out into place before we have our little freeze before we do it. But I've made it every time.
Oh, good.
Denise, my dresser, is a goddess.
Oh, dressers are superheroes, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other moment, the other ensemble moment that I find really, really effective is in, oh gosh, I guess I always have perpetual mommy brain. The number that's right at the end of Act One,
Wake Up or Forgiven?
Forgiven.
Yeah. The
Forgiven.
bench stuff where they're like
Yes. And
accused. Yeah.
yes, and again, if you look at each individual character, they are going through a journey. It's so powerful. I mean, it's almost like you got to look away. It
Yeah.
almost feels that uncomfortable, which I think is good. I think
Yeah.
that really brings the gravity of the scene. Almost like they are reflections of her emotional, interior life. But
Yeah.
also having journeys. Um, that's such a great scene, and then it ends in that kind of emotional musical crescendo. It's just like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Are you guys pretty silly backstage as a counterbalance to the heaviness of the show? Yeah. I suspect the heavier the show, the sillier things are off stage.
I mean, I feel bad for the leads because they don't really have the opportunity to do that as much, but you know, yeah, in the ensemble, all of us that are in the quick change room underneath the stage changing,
Mhm.
all us gals together, it gets a little wild sometimes, but it's also really supportive and like, it's not sometimes someone's not having a great day or someone's not feeling well and everyone is always adapting to the needs of everyone around them. It's not like, you know,
Mhm.
but
Right.
definitely there are some moments where we, try to respectfully blow off some steam before we go
Yeah.
back into the next heavy moment.
So besides, or in addition to your partner, what do you miss most about New York
I
right
miss
now?
being around people. I miss like the busyness and I'm someone that has a really hard time self motivating. Like it's been really hard to not have places I have to be and things I have to do. And it's starting to get busier, which is also weird. It also feels weird to like have all these things to do from home and in quarantine, which is of course harder because the Wi-Fi is so bad that every time I have something, I have to go figure out
Yeah.
like where I can safely socially distance go to send something or um
Yeah.
but yeah, I missed the energy so much of New York, I love being home and I always love coming home. And part of why I'm staying in Utah kind of as long as possible is because my parents have this really lovely, quaint little cabin in Idaho that's like one of my very favorite places to be. It's just so peaceful and so calm and so simple. Um, so that's part of also why I've been home for so long is because once it's nice enough and we open it up, I'll just go be up there until it's time to go back to the city. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and I miss the food. There's really not as much of there's not as many options here. Uh,
Yep. I can kind of picture that. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, well, I want to thank you for being on since we're coming kind of to the end of 45 minutes. I want to thank everybody for joining us and for being part of the conversation. I think what I'm hearing as the themes from our discussion were that standing in the middle of that dialect of fear and gratitude, and that it's being okay with those things coexisting, having the gratitude, but honoring whatever the other feelings are that come, and that we're kind of all in this strange season right now, right? Your family's in this funny rejoining that nobody could have anticipated, and we're all kind of in our own version of like an unanticipated season, but we're here.
mhm,
and and we're all trying to navigate it as best we can. Like I said at the top, if you have not checked out Jane's EP, It's You. It's really, really great songwriting and singing, of course. So I highly recommend going check you out. Check it out. I have Spotify. It's on Spotify. Is it on other streaming
It's
platforms?
on all the streaming things. Should be.
Awesome. If people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
I am at Janie Brucey on all of it. Even though my name's just Jane Bruce. It was actually a high school nickname of a friend. She called me
Oh,
Janie
that's funny.
Brucey. And for a while,
It's,
I changed my stuff to Jane Bruce Music because it felt more professional. And I was like, nah, Jane Brucey's more fun.
yep. Just being yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see. So I am the Dr. Drama, THEDRAMA. If you want to find me on social media, thank you so much for going and finding Wi-Fi to be part of this conversation. I
Sure.
appreciate it so much. I hope everybody stays safe and stays well. I will have Courtney Mack on from 6 on Monday at 4 Eastern if you want to be part of that conversation. Thank you, Jane. Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.